The Rebbe's asked a question. What example can you give of the Masach in the realms of Asiya, Yitzira, Bria, and Atzilut? What is the spiritual battle in these spiritual realms? The Rebbe says at the end of the introduction to the Talmud Eser Sfirot, there it's explained more these spiritual realms, and we'll, God willing, learn about this in the morning. What I can say simply now, but I'm not meaning to go into it, it's not the time right now, but what I can say, the spiritual realms like you see in the drawings, drawing number 1 and drawing number 2, you see in the drawings, the realms go down from above to below. The first one is Adam Kadmon, then there's Atzilut, then Bria, then there's Yitzira, and then Asiya. And below Asiya is this world, Olam Hazeh. But I can say, the more that we're ascending, the lights are greater. So therefore the battle is stronger. The more that the light is great, the harder it is to give up on it. In material terms we see, the more that a physical pleasure is greater, it's harder to give up on it. And physical pleasures are considered nothing compared to spiritual pleasures. Imagine to yourselves, revelation of God, what tremendous pleasure. Like it says in the Holy Zohar, that if the light of God would be revealed even the tiniest amount, every person in the world would leave everything that we desire and would go like being completely crazy to keep the mitzvot of the Torah. Why? Because the pleasure in them is greater. But God hid the pleasures, and therefore we're not running after them. If it was revealed just a little bit, the pleasures in the mitzvot of the Torah, we leave all the pleasures of this world and be running after those pleasures like crazy, after the pleasures of the Torah. So therefore we can understand, the more that the light is bigger, the harder it is to overcome it, and the harder the work. That's what I could say at the moment. Why does the created being want to give pleasure to the Creator? Maybe because the created being wants to receive a pleasure from this later on. The Rebbe says maybe. We need to ask ourselves. Each person needs to ask themselves, think about themselves. If we're giving something to someone, think about ourselves. Do we want to receive something in return? If we're hoping to receive something in return, that's called giving in order to receive. And this is not what it's talking about in the spiritual realms. That's in the realms of the Sitra Achra, the other side. The realms of holiness are built on real love. When a person loves someone, then the person wants it to be good for the other person. The person isn't thinking about themselves. I very much hope that we see we have 110, 120 people participating in this lesson. I hope that every man and woman, at least once in their life, has felt what it is to love. So if a person's felt love, a person can know that when we love, we really want to give goodness to the one we love, without any self-interest. And that's what we're talking about. The Rebbe's asked, what is the measure of returning light? The Rebbe says it's simple. According to the measure of the desire to receive, to the extent to which the light shines, that's the extent to which it needs to be deflected. For example, I'm in a struggle with myself to not dance on the table. I'm making a strong masach, my desire to not get up and dance on the table. Do you want to dance on the table right now? I'm asking you. Is there someone now that wants to get up on the table and dance? Today, on Memorial Day, of course not. So no one has a desire to dance now. If there's no desire, then there's nothing to overcome. If there's a small desire, then we need a little bit of overcoming. A great desire needs a great overcoming. Everything corresponds exactly. It's an exacting science. We'll learn about this as we continue. The Rebbe's asked, why does the returning light receive? Because we said there's no coercion in spirituality. And the created being doesn't want to receive. What do we say suddenly that he receives? This is the question. There's no coercion in spirituality. The created being doesn't want to receive. What's the proof? It deflects the light. Like the guest who doesn't want to receive the meal of the friend. So how is it that afterwards the guest receives the meal? Simple answer. Because the person wants to give pleasure to the host. The Rebbe's asked, where does the Masach come from? And the Rebbe says the Masach comes from the measure of a person's belief, Amunah, the measure of a person's awe of God. The more that a person believes that there always in the presence of God, that the person is in the presence of exalted God, and that if a person's receiving that becomes separated from God, then the person decides not to receive. That's where the Masach comes from. The Rebbe's asked, why doesn't God reveal some of the pleasures in the Torah so all people would be running after these pleasures? Why are the pleasures of the Torah hidden? The answer is, because even the smallest light of the Holy Torah is very big and would have a person put aside all physical pleasures. The physical pleasures in relation to the spiritual, the holy pleasures, is like a little child playing with sand. It's the same thing. A little child playing with sand. God wants, first of all, for us to be working on a basis of faith and not on revealment, because that's good for us. And second of all, wants that first of all, we practice making a masach and returning light on material pleasures, because the material pleasures are very small. So first of all, to practice making masachim and returning light on small material pleasures. If we succeed in this, according to the measure of our success, begin to become revealed to us the light of God in the Torah. If we prove ourselves, we'll become revealed. It's like how this whole world is built, meaning this world is structured in a gradual way. A child doesn't go to second grade until they've proved themselves in first grade. If a person fails in first grade, I'm going to raise them up to second grade. This whole world is structured like this. We have to prove ourselves below, and then we're raised up. And since the divine lights are so big and so precious, so God wants us first to prove ourselves with the small, simple things. And this is what happens. According to the measure of the Masach and the returning light that a person activates on their material desires, then the light, divine light, begins to be revealed to the person in the Torah, in the mitzvot, in prayers, in different ways. The Rebbe reads a question written by a student. He says, is a serious student. Says, good evening, everybody. The student's telling everybody to hit the like-im on the YouTube, because it will help other people to be interested in seeing the videos and help the teaching of the Rebbe come out in the world. It's going to begin soon, the holiday of Yom Ha'atzmaut, Independence Day, Israeli Independence Day. This day is a very happy day. The Baal Sulam said that he felt an aspect of a holiday on this day. Why? A verse that this is a day God made to be happy and rejoice in it. God made an incredible miracle. That there hasn't been like a miracle like this in all of the history of humanity. After 2,000 years of exile, that we were subjected to pogroms, to killing, to the Holocaust. A nation returns to its land. Something like this has never happened in the history of the world. That after 2,000 years, there doesn't remain anything of nations. No remembrance of all. Can we imagine what is 2,000 years? And this miracle, how God returned the nation of Israel to our land. It's simply an incredible miracle. So it's a very happy day. And we need to give thanks to God on this day. Every person according to their custom. But today is a day of thanks. That's clear and simple. The great sacrifice of the men and women soldiers of ours that fell in sanctifying God's name. Boys and girls, young, at the beginning of their youth, that their sacrifice will not be in vain. The Baal Sulam writes that we received a gift from God, but we need to be fitting to do a lot of actions in order to receive this gift in the proper way. And to receive this gift in the proper way means that we need to make actions, different types of actions. There's lots of actions. Each man and woman, thank God, excellent people, amazing people, to sit and think about this point, how we can cause the going out of this learning to the nation of Israel, to the ultra-Orthodox community, the Dati Leumi community, the national religious, and the non-religious. The more that this learning spreads in the world, it'll make a revolution. We want a revolution, an educational revolution, a spiritual revolution, and the revolution of our behavior. And then we'll be able to give complete praise on this gift that God has given us, the land of Israel, the nation of Israel returning to our land. It needs to be with the Torah of Israel, with the principles of the Torah of Israel, and then everything will be complete. The more that we are not internalizing the Torah of Israel, then the gift that God is giving us and this great miracle that God made are not able to withstand. Because like it says in the Torah portion that we'll read this coming Shabbat, portion of Acharei Mot, it says that if we behave like the nations of the world, then the land of Israel will throw us up outside, will throw us out. If we act like the nations of the world, and we don't put here Israel, the concepts of Israel, that are fitting to the land of Israel, and that are fitting to the God of Israel. So that's what it says in the Torah. The land will throw us out. We make the land impure, so the land will throw us up, throw us out. That's what it says in the Torah. And we know that with God, we can't fool around so much. We've already seen this. So we need to take this to heart, all of us, also me, all of us, all of us. The Rebbe is asked, in physical reality, we see that hunger pushes away the embarrassment. The Rebbe says it depends on who. The Rebbe is asked if the created being has now doubled its desire to receive, because now it has pleasure also from receiving and also pleasure from giving. The guest is enjoying from giving to the host and is also eating the meal. How is he giving to the host? By eating the meal. So the guest is actually profiting from everything. This is the complete situation that's called receiving in order to give. The Rebbe is asked, how can we make a masach? The answer is, but we're always saying, Torah and mitzvot, the outer aspect of the Torah and the inner aspect of the Torah. The Torah tells us what's forbidden, to do this or this. When the Torah says that something's forbidden, doesn't mean that we don't want it. Of course we do want it. Otherwise the Torah wouldn't have to tell us it's forbidden. Something that we don't want anyways doesn't need to be forbidden. So we do want. And on this the Torah says that it's forbidden. So the Torah and the mitzvot and the inner aspects of Torah all work together and to give within us divine light of belief in God. And this is what King David called, in short, I put God in my consciousness always. According to the depiction of the exaltedness of God, so is a person able to overcome their desire to receive. A small God, a small overcoming. A big God, a big overcoming. So what do we have to work on? Developing as much as possible our belief in God. That's the main point. The Rebbe's asked, what's the main difference between the tzimtzum and a masach? Answer. Tzimtzum means a complete separation. Masach means a relative separation. This means tzimtzum means that the created being doesn't come in any contact with the light. Nothing. Masach comes in contact with the light, deflects it, and part of the light it receives and part of it doesn't receive. It's like the guest who understands that they'll do a pleasure for the host by eating, but he doesn't fall on all the food, eat all the food. He takes some of the food to give pleasure to the host. That's the difference between a tzimtzum and a masach. The Rebbe's asked that now when we're sitting in our homes and can't go out because of the corona, is it a form of tzimtzum? That's not of our own desire. The Rebbe says yes. The tzimtzum was brought on us. Afterwards it was made on us a masach. We can go out 500 meters, not 600 meters. The Rebbe's asked if a person makes a masach, but out of self-interest, if that's also considered a masach, if that's a stage in making a masach. The Rebbe says yes, of course it's a stage. We're all going from stage to stage. Meaning, for example, by the Rebbe of blessed memory, my Rebbe, there's a very strong connection between the people. An amazing connection. Great love. Now, a person before sunrise would come to learn and was very tired. It's hard to get up. But the very fact that the person knew that there's friends that are waiting for them to learn together in the Beit Midrash, it was enough for the person to wake up and come. So even here, this action could be that they're getting up before sunrise to come to the Beit Midrash to learn because of interest, self-interest, because they wouldn't feel good from their friends if they didn't go. But that's a stage. And all these stages that are called lo lishma, not yet out of pure intention, We need to pass through these stages. There's all different stages of Lo Lishma. We can't expect that immediately we can hit the button and be able to do things only out of love for God. It's a process. In the beginning, we start out of self-interest. And slowly, God reveals to us what's positive and what needs to be fixed. And slowly, we ascend. Someone says to the Rebbe that, so in the end, also the giver and also the receiver are both giving. And the Rebbe says, yes, that's correct. The Rebbe says we'll finish here. There's a lesson in the Zohar after this, and we'll, God willing, talk more about Yom Ha'atzmaut. And the Rebbe wishes a Chag Sameach to everyone.